Welcome to the Hoopsville National Invitational Classic and the interviews that go along with this. I'm Dave McHugh from Hoopsville and D3 Hoops. I'm joined by Rich Reed from Laverne, and a 1-and-1 weekend for you guys. And by the way, if you hear some background noise, don't worry, that's another basketball game going on in the background. It's a busy weekend here at Stevenson. But 1-and-1 for you guys. You get a nice big win on the opening game against Ohio Wesleyan, but it kind of looked like Keystone kind of did what you did to Ohio Wesleyan. They were the ones in charge of that game.
Yeah, and our hats are off to Keystone. I mean, I thought they had a fantastic game plan. They wanted to zone us, and then they went man when we brought our shooter kid, number 23, Kendall McLean, into the game, and that kind of hurt us a little bit. And then what else they did that kind of hurt us was the fact that they were switching, 1 through 5, and we haven't quite seen that yet. And we kind of have a team with some experience, but we have a really, really young team. So hats off to them for a great game plan. And for us to come out of here 1-and-1, I feel pretty good about that.
Interesting, too. You saw two different teams. Ohio Wesleyan, much more of a half-court set, really wanted to pound the ball, try and do some certain things. You guys could bring the ball up slowly yourselves, which you really utilized in the first game. Second game, you went to try and do that, but you had to have some urgency. So at one point, your game plan went away from the half-court set into a little bit more high-paced. Is that your comfortability, or did you guys have to make that change?
You know what? For us, we always talk about getting the game in our tempo. So I think we're a mid-tempo team.
Okay.
We're a team that can score, 70, 75 points is about our max. And we knew they wanted to get in the 80s and 90s, and we said, hey, that's not going to happen. So at one point in the first half, the game was in our tempo, and then it kind of got away from us. We took some quick threes. They kind of ran it right up our tailpipe a little bit and got some layups and open threes. And so that wasn't really to our advantage. Game kind of calmed down, settled down, and then they did a nice job of just getting to the free throw line. With Ohio Wesleyan, we did not want to line up with them and try and ground and pound because we felt like they really executed their stuff. So we trapped them. We did some different things that we do out of our system. So we're kind of a pretty flexible team offensively and defensively. But, again, hats off to Keystone because they kind of really took it to us when it counted and ran the shot clock down a little bit and then kind of pounded us at that free throw line. So.
Two of the guys who really spearheaded you this weekend were Ron C. and Alonzo Young, C being named All-Classic team. Both of them had their strengths. Ron C. certainly seemed to have some advantages today, but Young kind of stepped up near the end of the game, just couldn't get you guys over the hump. Are those your two guys, or if someone's watching the game, is there somebody else that you should be keying on too?
We're a team. Yes, Ron and Alonzo make us go because they're kind of interchangeable parts. But I think you saw Hakeem Arnold come off the bench tonight and kind of really start to develop. And he's kind of the next guy that can create. Kenil Mason, another freshman, our lefty kid, can create. And then we've got Evan Roberts. He's kind of thin, but he's a 6'9" kid who can kind of shoot the ball. So we have a lot of different pieces that we can utilize. Number 12, Eric Becker, had a nice tournament. So we have a team-first concept. We don't really rely on one guy.
Sure.
We don't rely on two guys. We feel like if we can get into your bench, then that's where kind of our advantage is. So proud of those two guys, and Ron and Alonzo. But we have other guys that are coming, and some other guys that didn't play in this tournament that I think can help us down the road.
Quickly, we saw you at the D3 Hoops Classic in Vegas a couple years ago. This is a different team.
Yeah.
This is not the style of play. This isn't the team that took Transylvania to the line in that tournament. This is very different. So if people are looking at Laverne going, oh, yeah, 2 years ago, I knew what they did. Why the change? Has it just been because of personnel, or have you guys decided to take a different tact, especially with the SCIAC?
You know what, for us, it really is this is what I wanted our program to evolve to. So what you have to do is you have to find the right pieces in recruiting. And the team that we brought to Vegas was a team that was kind of a big bruising team that could shoot.
Could shoot outside.
But couldn't create. And now we've got some guys that can create, and C and Hakeem Arnold and Ron and Alonzo Young. So that allows us to space the floor and really kind of take advantage of those guys. So this is the system that I've been trying to employ for the 7 years I've been at Laverne, and now we're starting to get the type of athlete and skill set that we need to be able to run the system the way it needs to run, both offensively and defensively.
The Vegas team was an inside-outside presence. You could get a shot inside, you dump it outside for an open three. That really worked. This one really isn't an inside-outside. It's really creative and off a screen or a little bit more high-tempo, off a dribble type mentality.
Yes.
You look at the SCIAC. You guys are kind of coming along here and starting to make waves. But how do you see the SCIAC? A couple years ago, it was some usual names. Now it's a different set of names. Redlands wins the conference last year.
Yeah.
We had been looking at Occidental and CMS and some others. Is this an ever-changing conference, or are there some teams that are going to finally take hold of the top and make this a competitive conference again, at least on a national scale?
You know, I think it's competitive. I think the one thing
Yes.
that we haven't done as a conference is win games in a national tournament.
Yeah.
So for us, as a conference first, we've got to start figuring out how to beat the teams from the Northwest Conference.
Yeah,
And I'm
because
not-
unfortunately, you're going through the Northwest, or
Correct.
they're coming through you.
Correct, and that's we understand that. And obviously, you see in our schedule the last 2-3 years that we're going to play those teams in the Northwest Conference. So that's the first thing that we've got to get figured out is how, as a conference, we're going to win on the road.
Yeah.
So for us coming to a tournament like this, going up to the Northwest the year before that, going to Colorado, Hawaii, the places that we've gone, we've been up to Puget 2 or 3 times. Those are things that are important to help us, help our conference kind of gain that national respect.
Yeah.
And then we've got to do a better job of coming to more tournaments like this, whether it's Hoopsville or D3 Hoops in Las Vegas, and having a showing kind of like what we did, this weekend.
Yeah.
As far as the conference itself, it's balanced. I think it's a great coaches conference. The coaches haven't left. I'm in my 7th year, and I'm by
Young and
I'm like way youngin', so I feel like I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm getting a doctorate in coaching with the
Yeah.
guys I go against every night. But it's just a balanced league. I think anyone can win it. And so what's happened in our league that's changed is coaches have really started to get after it. The coaches that have been around will say, hey, it's your fault, Coach Reed, because you're out there recruiting, and now I'm staying up later at night making phone calls. But I think you'll see our conference surge a little bit.
Okay.
Who's going to win it? I don't know. I don't know who's going to win the conference. Redlands is the champ until someone beats them. Claremont will be tough. Pomona's got a lot of really good guards back. It's going to be balanced. Whittier's got a fine program. There's no nights off. And what I tell people across the country that don't get to see our conference a lot because of the time difference is we're one of the most scouted leagues in the country.
Probably true.
Because we're all on top of each other. Our furthest trip's an hour away.
Yeah.
So they're going to have 8, 9, 10 tapes on you, and they're going to see you play live 6 or 7
Yeah.
times. So by the time we get to conference play, it's just a bloodbath.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect to any other conferences around
No.
the country, but just our location kind of makes it that way.
Well, and quickly, you're taking the effort to go out to the Hoopsville Classic, D3 Hoops Classic, go up to the Northwest and do things like that. Some other schools are too, but some others aren't.
Yes.
How much is there a message that everyone's trying to deliver? Are you and others trying to say, listen, guys, we need to change our image, we need to do this as a whole? Or is it one of those, hey, this is what we're doing, it's for the betterment of the conference, if you don't want to do it, just understand that we're trying to make this better?
Yeah, my attitude is for our program, and that's all I can really control.
Sure.
Is I want to compete on a national scale. I know that sounds crazy. I'm kind of a nutty guy, but I want to compete on a national scale. In order to do that, you've got to see teams. You've got to see style of play. We've got to go to a place like Stevenson and see a different team from the Midwest and team from the East Coast. Because if you're talking about advancing in the national tournament, that's what you're going to see. So I don't want our guys to be uncomfortable in these environments. And so the guys that have been on our program for 4 years have been on numerous trips. So for me, that's my mission and our goal in our program. As a conference, the conference, other member schools have some restrictions that maybe I don't have that I can't control. Maybe they can't travel every year.
Yep.
So, each school has to do what they need to do. And I think the only thing that we can do as a conference to gain national respect is you got to win games in the national tournament.
Yeah.
And that shuts everybody up.
And of course, that means and if anyone doesn't understand, I mean, the SCIAC the coaches seem to understand this, the Northwest seems to understand that. Unless there's an extenuating circumstance, you guys are going to get matched up due to geography,
Sure.
due to travel.
Sure.
It's almost unavoidable unless extenuating circumstances, multiple teams getting in and stuff like that. Is that something that's just realistic? And you just know we can't change that?
Yes, but also at the same token, the Final Four is in Salem.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're going to have to travel
You're gonna have to
east
travel
either way.
anyway,
So
yeah.
what does it what does it really matter with that in regards to us traveling? So now what I would say though is this: we also have an opportunity to host
Sure.
and get a first round bye.
Yep.
Because of geography. So we can't look at one and not look at the other. So
Right.
if you do
if
your
you're good
work,
enough, you can be at home and get that.
correct,
first
and
round bye.
Whitworth has taken advantage of that
Absolutely.
during the Hayford era, and then now with Logie there, with being able to host or get a first round bye and then have a
Somebody
SCIAC,
else.
whether it was Chapman when they were independent,
Yeah.
play a SCIAC, the winner flies up to Whitworth. So what an advantage for one of those two teams.
But unfortunately, sometimes the Skyhawks have to play each other in the first round. But again, geography, it's not worth going into everything. I'm sure I'll get questions about it on Hoopsville throughout the year. It's a very common thing. We touched on it. You saw different styles here at the Hoopsville Classic. What is this experience for your student athletes?
Incredible. We made this an educational trip. We made it a
You guys came
trip.
out here on Tuesday.
We did. We saw D.C. We practiced at Georgetown.
Wow.
We practiced at the house that you built in Goucher.
Oh boy, watch it.
So, our guys got that experience, a taste of the different parts of the country, and so that's what we really want it to be about. That's kind of the model and philosophy of not just Division III, but our university.
Sure.
That our student athletes get the experience, and so we were excited about that and happy that we came out on Tuesday.
Very cool. I did notice there was an outdoor basketball court at your hotel, but it did not look like it was really playable.
Well, we probably should have went out there and shot some shots tonight since we went about 3 of 16 from 3. So that's a coaching error that I made. So I'll make sure next time we do that.
As always, I give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who are watching?
I want to thank you publicly and say thank you for having us out here. I know that on paper we weren't the most exciting team based on the competition that was here, and so hopefully you got another look at us and you've seen the growth in our program, but also what you, Gordon, and Brian, and don't want to leave out Pat.
I'll just help Pat out.
The work that you guys do for Division III basketball is incredible. I tell everyone to tune in. I know we have the Leopard Nation watching closely. They watched both games and have tweeted and emailed and texted and said what a wonderful job that you guys do. And this is a chance for me on camera to say I will invite you out to the Super Tent so you can call a game, get some warm weather in you. If you got to bring the family,
you notice it's getting cold here.
Yeah, so you're welcome out anytime. So we got to figure out set up a marquee matchup so you can broadcast live from the Super Tent. So
I will take you up on that. Don't worry. We'll figure that one out.
December or January is a good time when you're buried in some snow. So
a good call. Even though I like snow, I say how you're thinking. I like that. Okay, very good. I will certainly talk to you about that. I would love to take advantage of that. Awesome.
Good deal.
Nice meeting you. Not meeting you. We've met before, but thanks for chatting with us. Thanks for coming out here to Stevenson. We certainly appreciate it. Once again, Laverne, 1-1 coming in here coming out of here at the Hoopsville Classic. We'll talk with plenty more coaches ahead on the Hoopsville National Invitational Classic